Okay, what we're going to do here is look at Armageddon and the sign of the times that Jesus spoke about in the Mount of Olives in Matthew 24:3, and its allegory and what it actually means and its directive. Um, Here we're looking at all different forms of the Bible. I'm here on the site that's got all different forms of the Bible, New American, King James, everything. It doesn't matter where I go here. I'm going to find this exact same thing. The more modern you go, the more they've sweetened it up. But the one thing to hear, here's the line. As he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of your coming at the end of the world?" So, this is when the disciples are asking him when the end of the world is going to be, and the sign of his times, and what's going to happen. Okay? And there's a lot of things that lead to this, and things that are accompanied to it. Matthew 21:1, when they drew near to Jerusalem and they came to Bethpage. Well, Beth is bread, Bethlehem, a house of bread. Phage is to eat. So the Greeks had renamed it Bethphage here. But you also find out that the bread is symbolic of meat. And this actually is a time whenever the name of that place was Meat Eaters, and not actually necessarily the bread or house of bread. And there are old scholars who say that that's indicating the cannibalism that took place with their religion, and how they equate it to bread later by saying, "This is the bread, eat of my flesh." But we're going to steer away from that. We're not really even talking about that. But what we're talking about is, he speaks to them in parables right before this and stuff. And they ask him about why the parables and stuff. And he goes, "So you can understand, but if they're stupid, other people can't." If you look into this, it's not the phrase we're looking at right now either. But they try to equate it over here. I don't know if it's really showing up, but they try to equate it over here with all kinds of things, and different verses and stuff. And the enemy that sowed them is the devil, teaching them to deserve all things that he commanded. For then he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. And so when is the coming? When is the coming of the close of an age? Oh, well, that's different than end of the world. What makes that different than end of the close of the age, the coming and the close of the age? Well, I'm here to tell you that this all has a lot to do with zodiac and precession of zodiac, and how we were in the age of Aries, the ram, and everybody was sacrificing goats. Oh, before that it was bulls, and the sign of Taurus, and you see that all through the Bible. And then they go to goats, and Jesus is a lamb, but then he's also a fisherman who brings Pisces. He's the bringer of the age of Pisces, and then which they determined to be around 0 BC, or really about 2 or 3 BC now. Exactly that. It's funny, they pegged the year that the zodiac changes, and even changed it to be the right one, and don't even really, like staring through the trees to try to find the forest. But we continue here. Let's just look at any of these. I don't know, New International, New whatever. Let's not go with the new one. Let's just try to find regular King James, or a King James, American King James version, King James. How about the old one? Where's the old one? Where's the King James? King James 2000. It's in here. I know it is. Up King James. Okay, so, and it even says end of the world, right? Jesus went out, departed from the temple, decided to show them the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said to them, "See ye not these things? Verily I say to you, that there shall be no one stone left upon another that shall not be thrown down." Now, this is the prophecy of the losing of the temple that everybody knows about, and then they have to do the rebuilding of the temple and so on, right? Okay, so he tells you there will be not one stone left on another, and shall be thrown down. And I'm telling you now that this actually happened in the Jewish revolt of 66 to 73 AD. And that whenever they say at the end of the world, how the other ones say end of an age, is because the actual Hebrew word there is the exact word that you use for zodiac precession change. The end of an age, like the age of Aquarius. Okay, you get it? Yeah. And that Jesus would be with us until the end of the age. Well, now we're in the dawning of the age of Aquarius, and this veil is disappearing from us that supposedly was put over us of the truth of that Rome brought to us and the Catholic Church. And surely people have figured this out long ago. Oh yeah, they did, but everybody that figured it out, they killed off in the name of God, saying that they were heretics and devil worshippers. Yeah, that's right. So you either went with this or you got smoked all the way through the Dark Ages. But I digress. Let's see. He sat upon the Mount of Olives. They asked him, when's the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, there's one thing I want to clarify right here before we get started and read this through, is that there are times in the Bible where they're talking in first person, like I, me. They're talking in second person, like you. They're talking in third person, like he. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to realize which one they're talking to and what they're doing. In this scripture, people say, oh, see, it's about to come because he's talking to you. He's not talking to you. They say, when is the sign for us? And he tells them when the sign is for them. In fact, he even gives a date that says it's within their lifetime. It's not yours. He's not talking to you. You weren't alive back then. You didn't ask him the question. He didn't give you the answer. So when he says you, he's not talking to you. They try to preach that now in churches, but the true origin of the thought of any of this is the fact that these disciples asked him, tell us, in secret it says, hey, we pulled him aside, tell us when the sign of the ages comes so we can be ready for it. And he goes, okay. Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And he shall hear of wars and rumors of war. See that ye not be troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, kingdom and kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence, earthquakes, and divers places. In divers places, it's not diverse. No, it's in divers places. So there'll be earthquakes in under the water, and these things are beginning of sorrows. Okay, well, let's go back up here. Who is he talking to? He's talking to the disciples. For many shall come in my name, saying that I am Christ. Well, who is saying this? It's Jesus. Let's make sure of that. Is there a way to red highlight the when God is talking or Jesus? Let's go back here. Let's go to one that shows you in God's name, whatever it is. Let's see here. There we go. So it's in red. Jesus told them, don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name claiming I am the Messiah. They will deceive many, and you will hear of wars and threats. Or hold on a second. Now, look at the grammar and exactly what's being said here. People think that it's supposed to direct you because you're alive now, like this whole book was made just for when you're alive. Everybody wants to feel that they're special. These assholes thought the whole earth was created just for us, and they thought the stars would fall from the sky. Now we know that their planet's far, far away. The Sumerians had to tell them that, like in the Bible, it says that the sun is the great light and the lesser light. And the Babylonians had to explain to them that the moon is merely a reflection off of Shamash, your sun god. Yeah, they had to explain. And then they said all the stars in the sky were merely like our sun, but far, far in the distance, as if a man carrying a torch, far, far away. Yeah, so it's amazing all the stuff these Sumerians knew. And, it brings about a lot of Persian thoughts and things that stray all the way into India and all the way into Asia, too. You get this, but, and this Gnosticism that's the Greeks pull off very well. But let's look at this. It's a real important statement here. Jesus told them, don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name, claiming that I am the Messiah. So he says many people are going to come later claiming that Jesus is the Messiah, and they will deceive many. People, listen to this. Jesus told them, don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name claiming that I am the Messiah, and they'll deceive many. It says right here, Jesus tells you he is not the Messiah. Don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name. People will come in the name of Jesus, claiming that Jesus is the Messiah. He's telling them that they're going to claim that I'm the Messiah. People nowadays turn this around and they say, people will come and they will say that they're from Jesus and they'll claim that they're the Messiah. No, 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 no. No, no, definitely not. Listen to exact grammar here. He's talking to them. They're asking. He doesn't say, tell me what people 2,000 years from now will need to know if it's happening during their lifetime. He asks them for a sign of the times, and in a moment, he's going to tell you that it happens during their lifetime, a generation, which actually from the time of Jesus, 40 years later, becomes the start of the Jewish revolt. And in fact, here it is actually telling them when to do it. And the 666 thing in the year 66 was the year of the Jewish revolt, in the 6th month. But we don't have to go there just yet. The exact phrase, don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in Jesus' name, claiming that Jesus is the Messiah, and they'll deceive many, and you will hear of wars and threats of wars. Don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. Nation will go against war against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, believing in this crap that he's the Messiah, but he's not. He said they're claiming that Jesus is Messiah, but he's not. They'll deceive many by telling you that he is. There will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world, but all of this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come. Oh yeah, it's going to get worse and worse. That's what Jesus tells you. It's going to get real bad. These people that are claiming that Jesus is the Messiah, that are deceiving many, who mislead you to tell you that they're coming in Jesus' name and that Jesus is the Messiah. Many will come in my name saying that I'm the Messiah, but they'll deceive many. That's not them saying that they're the Messiah. He's telling you right there, people are going to come in his name and say that he is the Messiah, Jesus, that I. He doesn't say that, and that person. He says that. Now, the quote starts right here. If you put funny quote marks, like quote marks, around it, that I am the Messiah, you'd get that. And this Bible is trying to throw them in there. You won't find it in any of the old ones that have even a, this is actually an asterisk that gives you like a plural. Like if I was to say Keith's, this would be, the apostrophe S. So that's not even a quote mark here. They're not doing that. They will deceive many. This is the exact truth of it. And he's telling you it's going to get bad. He's going to tell you that the prophets will be arrested, persecuted, and killed, and they do get killed in the battle of Jerusalem at the Jewish revolt. And indeed, no one's ever found any trace of any of these guys really existing at all. Mark, Luke, Matthew, any of these people. You'll be hated all over the world because you are my followers, and many will turn away from me and betray and hate each other. Look at that. He says, y'all are going to, this religion that I've got is just going to make dissension amongst everybody. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Deceive many people of what? Letting them believe that I am the Messiah and that I'm not. They're going to deceive the hell out of people. And there's your phone call. In fact, that reminds me, I've got to use my phone in a minute and call bullshit on this whole religion. Yeah, I don't know what the phone number is, but I'm going to Google it and look it up, and I'm calling bullshit on all of this. So anyhow, many false prophets will appear and deceive me. Sin will be rampant everywhere, and the love of many will grow cold. The ones who endure, the end will be saved, and the good news about the kingdom will be preached throughout the whole world, and all nations will hear it, and then the end will come. Okay, so once it gets rampant around the world, that's when the end of the age happens. Well, yeah, we're about there right now, where it's pretty much swallowed the whole world, this belief in this crap that's definitely not true, okay? And, well, there's your alarm. Anyhow, so it's going to swallow up the world, and then the end will come. Well, it'll be the end of an age. It'll be the end of a zodiac. It'll be when? Oh, right now at the age of Aquarius. The day is coming when you'll see that Daniel the prophet spoke about, the sacrilegious object that causes desecration standing in a holy place. Reader, pay attention. Then those in Judea must flee in the hills. A person out on the dock of a roof must not go down the house. In fact, a person in the field, it's like it's going to happen real quick. And this is where he tells you it's like a thief in the night. And all this really is a directive, because he tells you that it's going to happen during their lifetime. That many here, he tells you here, so this is how he shows you it's a lie. He tells you many of the people there and the prophets that are listening. Who's he talking to? He's talking to the prophets. He's telling them. He's not talking to you. You're not there. He's talking to the prophets, and he tells them many of them are still going to be alive when this happens. That it's going to be a generation. Well, a generation in the Bible is 40 years. It's the generation that they used for going around in Sinai in the desert. It's the common term. People usually lived about 40 years maximum in this, so they referred to a generation back then as being 40 years. It's a secret symbology number they've got all over the Bible. Surely I don't have to mention all of them to you. But he tells you that in those days the sun will darken, moon will give no light, stars will fall from the sky, and all this stuff is going to happen. Well, that didn't happen at the Jewish revolt. They thought it would. If they really had a God that was true, he would have kicked in for them like he's supposed to have and done all the little things and ride in on the horses on the clouds and shit. But none of that went down. I want you to actually look up the Jewish revolt, and you'll find that they got trapped like the Alamo and besieged all the way around by Rome, who actually encapsulated the whole area and starved them out, much like the Alamo. And you'll find Josephus, if you'll look up his history of the Jews, you'll find that he tells you an account of a lady named Mary. Now, he wrote this before the Bible was thought of as being, oh, let's turn it into this. And here's your proof. For Josephus, just after this, writes the history of the Jews, and in the talking about the Jewish revolt, tells you of whenever they get starved out, of a lady named Mary, whose son, named Yeshua, was sacrificed and eaten as a Passover meal to try to save them all, and that she said that he would become a savior for the people and a myth for the ages. Now, that would have been great if God would have came out of the clouds and rode down on a horse like they think of as Allah and all that stuff, and Muhammad coming on a flying horse and stuff, and dragons out of the sky, but none of that happened. Actually, it just, Rome just came in and smoked them, and then they were trapped. And then there's an odd occurrence. They martyred themselves. To try to make this happen, they martyred themselves. Whenever Rome came in to kill them all off at the end and do the Alamo thing, they were already dead. They had all killed themselves or appointed people to kill them all off, and they had all killed themselves before they were going to be taken captive by Rome. Which would have been just basically taken over. But no, these people were calling for Armageddon. This was their Armageddon. Jesus had told them whenever it was going to happen, here it is. And this is what's going to happen. This is how it all goes down, people. He tells you all of these signs, and every single one of these will lead to a zodiac thing. Every single one of them will lead to a point, and they'll show you. And just like, one way of proving this, look up, Google image House of Bread constellation, or Bethlehem constellation, and you're going to see that there's actually, it's Virgo, the Virgin. And the reason that they don't have it in the Bible is because they take the women and all of the goodness out of the Bible, and they even made Virgo the Virgin into something else. If you look at the shape of it, you can find Jonah and the whale, and how planets, whenever they do a precession, how they come in and then they wobble and go back and then continue. How that their special little star got eaten by the whale and then spit back out 3 days later. You can see there the whole little diorama, and by the way, whenever that's Bethlehem, and that's the star that was shown whenever Jesus was born, and that same king planet came in and spun around that area and did the little wobble back and forth at Virgo the Virgin, and so Jesus Christ, born of a virgin on December 25th, That'd all be great if it didn't exactly equal the same myth of Mithra from 1600 BC. Look it up and you might find the actual beginning of all of that. In fact, hopefully you will. But he tells you that the end of the time will come then, and that is already happened. Because he told them that they're not going to die. Unless Jesus is totally silly, he's telling the apostles they're going to still be alive, or some of them, whenever it happens. And it does at the Jewish revolt. In fact, this is actually the directive to incite the day, hidden in the Bible, in allegory, for when they're going to do the Jewish revolt and end up causing Armageddon and take it back from Rome. And God's going to help them, just like in the Bible. But it didn't happen and they all got killed. A massacre. Look it up. You'll be enlightened.